plug anything I want into cosine.
What's cosine of 0?
Cosine is never undefined, and so I should be able to plug
Just 1. So it's 14. The limit should be 14.
I should be able to plug the whole xy plane into the function. So my domain is the entire xy plane. You can also state that as R2. Okay, they mean the same thing. That's my domain. The range, if we think about this function, cosine we know bounces up and down. 14 times cosine is going to bounce up and down between negative 14 and positive 14, but then what's the cosine added to? X.
X.
And so as x becomes any number we want it to be, it's going to become any negative number we want added to the cosine plus any positive number we want. So because of the x, the range is all real numbers. So z is any real number. Whereas our points x, y can come from any point in the xy plane. So my domain is two-dimensional, my range is one-dimensional. One-dimension range, two-dimension domain. Is this function continuous? Yes, because cosine is continuous, x is continuous, you add the two together, you get continuous, so yes.
We have a question from the note.
Sure.
For that range, when you say it's all real, would that be the same thing as like you being able to say it goes from negative infinity to positive infinity?
Okay, then they wanted us to find the limit as we went to 0, 0. I just somewhat answered how to do that because I said the function was continuous because we're dealing with cosine. Sine and cosine is always continuous. X is always continuous. You add them together, you always get continuous. So the limit is going to be what you get when you plug 0, 0 in. So 14 times cosine of 0 will be 14 times 1. And then when x is 0, you get 14. Okay, so like I said, for the most part, the functions we deal with, you know, beyond this section where they're at least trying to get you to realize that sometimes your limits might not exist, sometimes your function might not be continuous, our functions will be continuous. The domains and ranges, though, won't always be all real numbers, and we have to look at, if the plus x had not been on there, then what would my range have been if the plus x had not been on there?
Is it 14?
Negative 14 to positive 14 would have been my range. It would have been z values between negative 14 and positive 14.
Now for your limit, when do you have to graph that limit function just to see if that limit is true or not?
Well, you can, to build the best way to really see it is to build one of those Excel spreadsheets like I did in your notes and kind of see from all directions if the values are heading to the same thing. But it's a little bit time consuming to do that.
Right.
So instead, I was kind of just relying on understanding cosine x. I mean, cosine's this continuous wave that doesn't have any problems. It doesn't have any asymptotes, it doesn't have any holes in it.
Right.
And then x, same thing, x, if you graph x, it's just a continuous line. So you add the two together, it's gonna create something that's continuous. So without having to make an Excel spreadsheet or having to graph it, but we can graph it if you want.